The Galactic Senate had recorded thousands of civilizations throughout its history. Some rose. Some fell. Some disappeared without leaving a trace. But only one species had been officially stamped with the words, extinct. Humanity. For 217 years, that verdict remained unchanged. Every galactic history book taught the same story. Earth had been destroyed during the final purge. Its colonies burned. Its fleets annihilated. Its people erased. Children across the galaxy studied the human tragedy as a warning against resisting the Dominion. The Dominion loved that story. It reminded everyone what happened to civilizations that refused to obey. No one questioned it anymore. Until the day the impossible happened. Admiral Kaler stood inside the Senate observation chamber, staring through the enormous transparent wall overlooking the core system. Thousands of warships floated peacefully around the Senate ring. Trade vessels crossed designated lanes. Diplomatic cruisers drifted toward docking stations. Everything appeared perfectly normal. Then every warning alarm activated simultaneously. The room filled with crimson emergency lights. A nervous officer rushed toward the admiral. Unknown hyperspace signatures detected. Kaler frowned. How many? The officer swallowed. You can't count them. Silence. Every sensor station suddenly became overwhelmed. One after another, long-range satellites shut down. Communication arrays overloaded. Artificial intelligences began reporting impossible readings. The stars themselves seemed to distort. Another officer shouted. They're emerging beyond the Helios boundary. The enormous tactical display expanded. Everyone expected pirates. Perhaps another rebellion. Instead, nothing. An empty sector. No ships. No weapons. No enemy. Then the stars moved. Not the ships. Not the planets. The stars. Entire constellations disappeared behind something unimaginably large. Gasps echoed throughout the command center. What? Someone whispered. Is that? Slowly, the darkness revealed itself. An enormous metallic structure emerged from hyperspace. Then another. Then another. Hundreds. Thousands. Massive warships unlike anything in recorded history. Each vessel stretched dozens of kilometers. Their armor reflected no light. Instead, they absorbed it. Their engines glowed with brilliant sapphire energy. Ancient, elegant, terrifying. None carried recognizable Dominion markings. None matched any known civilization. Yet every vessel displayed the exact same symbol. A blue planet. Surrounded by silver wings. Admiral Kaler's heartbeat stopped. He knew that emblem. Everyone over the age of 100 knew it. Impossible. He turned toward the historical archives floating beside the command console. Open Archive 7. The AI responded immediately, accessing prohibited historical records. An old image appeared. Human battleships. Human uniforms. Human banners. The same blue planet. The same silver wings. The room became deathly quiet. No. Kaler whispered. They can't be. The AI interrupted. Symbol identification confirmed. It paused. Then spoke words no machine had uttered in over 2 centuries. United Earth Defense Fleet. Panic exploded across the Senate. Politicians screamed. Military officers demanded confirmation. Scientists insisted the sensors were malfunctioning. But every scan reported the same answer. The impossible fleet was real. More ships continued exiting hyperspace. 5,000, 10,000, 20,000. And still they kept coming. The Dominion Supreme Marshal immediately transmitted a system-wide order. Prepare all defensive fleets. Target every unidentified vessel. Destroy them before they reach Senate space. Across the core worlds, millions watched the broadcast. No one noticed one final transmission hidden beneath the emergency frequencies. It came from the unknown fleet. Simple. Clear. Broadcast simultaneously in every known galactic language. This is the United Earth Defense Fleet. A brief pause followed. Then the next sentence froze the entire galaxy. Humanity never went extinct. The message echoed across every inhabited world. This is the United Earth Defense Fleet. Humanity never went extinct. For several long seconds, no one spoke. Across the Galactic Senate, thousands of delegates sat frozen in silence. News networks interrupted every broadcast. Trading hubs stopped all traffic. Even military AIs paused to verify the transmission. Every result came back the same. The signal was authentic. It was encrypted with a military protocol that had vanished from galactic records over 2 centuries earlier, a protocol that no one alive should have been able to reproduce. Admiral Kaler stared at the tactical display as more human warships poured out of hyperspace. The fleet seemed endless. No chaotic formations. No wasted movement. Each vessel entered its assigned position with perfect precision, forming an enormous defensive wall around the core system without firing a single shot. Whoever commanded this fleet possessed discipline unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. A young intelligence officer broke the silence. "Admiral, our scanners still can't determine the fleet's total size." "Estimate." The officer swallowed. "We've confirmed over 32,000 capital-class warships." The room erupted in disbelief. "Impossible. No civilization can support a fleet that large. Where have they been?" Before anyone could answer, another alert flashed across the command table. Dominion First Strike Fleet has entered attack formation. Supreme Marshal Varek appeared on every military display. His expression was cold, confident, and filled with contempt. "So," he said, "the ghosts of Earth finally return." He smiled. "You survived." His smile disappeared. "You should have stayed hidden." Without waiting for approval from the Senate, Varek issued the order. "Fire." Thousands of Dominion battleships unleashed a storm of plasma lances, antimatter missiles, and gravitational torpedoes. The galaxy watched live. A barrage powerful enough to erase a planet raced toward the silent human fleet. No evasive maneuvers. No return fire. The human ships simply remained motionless. Delegates whispered nervously. Were they caught off guard? Did their weapons fail? Then, just before the attack struck, every human vessel released a faint pulse of blue light. A shimmering energy barrier expanded across the formation like a calm ocean. The Dominion's weapons collided with it and disappeared. Not exploded. Not deflected. Simply erased. As if the attacks had never existed. Silence consumed every command center. Even Supreme Marshal Varek stood speechless. What happened? Scientists rushed to analyze sensor logs. One finally looked up, pale with disbelief. The human shield isn't blocking energy. It is rewriting the laws of local space. Another scientist whispered, "Our weapons ceased to exist before impact." Across the galaxy, millions felt a chill. This wasn't advanced technology. It was something beyond their understanding. Then the lead human flagship moved. Only a few meters. But that tiny movement caused the surrounding fabric of space to ripple like water. A new transmission arrived. This time, a face appeared. An older woman wearing a dark blue Earth Fleet uniform looked directly into every camera in the galaxy. Silver streaks ran through her hair, but her eyes were steady. "My name is Fleet Admiral Evelyn Ward. We did not return for revenge. We returned because the galaxy is running out of time." Behind her, every officer on the bridge stood at attention. No fear. No arrogance. Only purpose. Then Admiral Ward delivered a sentence that sent shockwaves through the Senate. "The Dominion didn't destroy humanity." She paused. "They only destroyed the Earth you were allowed to see." The Senate chamber was silent. Not because there were no questions, but because no one could believe what they had just heard. The Dominion didn't destroy humanity. They only destroyed the Earth you were allowed to see. Fleet Admiral Evelyn Ward stood calmly aboard the flagship US Resolute. Behind her, the bridge crew worked with quiet precision, never once looking nervous despite thousands of Dominion weapons aimed at them. Supreme Marshal Varek leaned toward the transmission. "Explain yourself." Ward met his gaze without hesitation. 217 years ago, you invaded Earth expecting a quick victory. A holographic recording appeared between them. It showed the skies above Earth burning as Dominion warships rained fire across continents. Cities crumbled beneath orbital bombardments. To the galaxy, this had always been the moment humanity died. But then the recording continued. Something history had never seen. Months before the invasion, enormous civilian convoys had quietly departed the solar system. Thousands of colony ships, escorted by experimental warships, vanished into deep space through classified jump corridors. The Senate erupted. Those records were erased. Who authorized this evacuation? Ward answered, "We did. When our intelligence discovered the Dominion's invasion plans, we accepted one painful truth. We couldn't win that war. So we refused to fight it." Even Admiral Kaler looked stunned. "You abandoned Earth?" Ward's expression softened. "No. We sacrificed one world to save our species." The hologram zoomed out. As the Dominion celebrated its victory over Earth, hidden human fleets were already traveling beyond the mapped borders of the galaxy. For decades they remained silent. Then decades became centuries. While the Dominion ruled through fear, humanity evolved in the shadows. New worlds were terraformed. Quantum shipyards orbited distant stars. Artificial intelligences designed entirely new forms of propulsion. Fusion became obsolete. Antimatter became outdated. Even hyperspace itself was eventually surpassed. The galaxy believed humanity had vanished. Instead, humanity had entered its greatest age. Back in the Senate chamber, military analysts compared sensor data from the human fleet. Every result contradicted known physics. One scientist whispered, "Their reactors produce more energy than our entire core system." Another added, "The flagship's hull is made from materials that don't exist in our database." Supreme Marshal Varek refused to show fear. Technology changes nothing. The Dominion still commands millions of warships. He pointed toward Admiral Ward. "You are outnumbered." Ward smiled for the first time. "Marshal, you still think you're looking at our military." Confused murmurs spread through the chamber. She touched a control panel. Instantly, the holographic star map expanded far beyond known space. Dozens of unexplored sectors lit up. Then hundreds. Then thousands. Each one displayed the same symbol. The blue planet of Earth. Every glowing marker represented a hidden human colony. Every colony housed fleets, factories, and defenses. The galaxy hadn't been searching for a dead civilization. It had been living beside a silent empire all along. Just then, another alert echoed through every command center. Long-range sensors detected thousands of additional hyperspace signatures. They weren't arriving to reinforce the fleet. They were appearing across the entire galaxy. Near Dominion shipyards. Near strategic worlds. Near military headquarters. Human fleets had already been there. Waiting. Watching. Preparing. Admiral Kaler looked at the tactical map in horror. They surrounded the Dominion before announcing their return. Ward nodded. "We didn't come back to start a war." Her voice became cold. "We came back to end the one you've been fighting for 2 centuries. The tactical map hanging above the Senate floor turned crimson. Across thousands of star systems, blue markers began appearing one after another. Every blue marker represented a hidden human fleet. Every red marker represented a Dominion military installation. Admiral Kaler's breathing grew heavy. "They've infiltrated our entire territory." Fleet Admiral Evelyn Ward corrected him. "No. We observed your territory. For 217 years. Silence fell over the chamber. Human reconnaissance ships had quietly mapped every Dominion shipyard, every fortress, every supply depot, and every secret weapons facility. Nothing had escaped their surveillance. Supreme Marshal Varek refused to be intimidated. "So you've been spying?" Ward nodded. "And because we were watching, we also discovered something you never did." She activated another hologram. This one wasn't a map. It was a countdown. 3 hours, 17 minutes, and 42 seconds. Delegates exchanged confused looks. "What is that?" Ward answered without emotion. "The time remaining." Remaining until what? Kaler asked. Before she could reply, every long-range sensor in the core system screamed at once. An emergency officer rushed to his console. Admiral, we've detected massive gravitational distortions beyond the galactic rim. Another officer shouted. They're multiplying. The tactical display zoomed outward, beyond the borders of explored space. At first, nothing appeared. Then space itself began to crack. Dark fractures spread across the stars like broken glass. One by one, enormous rifts opened into complete darkness. From those rifts came objects so vast that Dominion supercomputers couldn't calculate their size. Some were larger than moons. Others stretched hundreds of kilometers. None resembled ships built by any known civilization. They looked ancient, organic, alive. The Senate chamber fell into terrified silence. Supreme Marshal Varek whispered, "What are they?" Ward's face remained calm, but her eyes carried the weight of centuries. The reason humanity disappeared. Another transmission appeared beside hers. This time it showed an old recording dated 217 years earlier. A young Evelyn Ward stood inside a classified Earth bunker. Behind her were the leaders of humanity. One scientist pointed toward identical black rifts forming beyond the edge of the galaxy. "They're coming." Another officer asked, "Can we defeat them?" The scientist answered quietly, "Not today." "So what do we do?" Ward's younger self spoke the words that changed human history. "We vanish." The recording ended. Back in the present, every delegate finally understood. Earth had never fled from the Dominion. Humanity had withdrawn to prepare for something far worse. Ward looked directly into the Senate cameras. "For over 2 centuries we rebuilt. We developed technologies you cannot imagine. We created fleets large enough to challenge extinction itself. But even that may not be enough." Suddenly, every human warship across the galaxy moved at the same instant. Perfect synchronization. Thousands, then tens of thousands, then more than 100,000 vessels shifted into battle formation. A powerful transmission echoed from every human flagship. Operation Phoenix is now active. All hidden fleets defend the galaxy. At the edge of the Milky Way, the first colossal alien vessel emerged completely from the rift. Its shadow swallowed an entire star system. Then it fired a single beam. A distant Dominion fortress world disappeared. Without an explosion, it simply ceased to exist. For the first time in galactic history, the mighty Dominion knew what it felt like to be afraid. The galaxy watched in horror. The Dominion fortress world was simply no explosion, no debris, no distress signal. One heartbeat it existed. The next, it had vanished as if reality itself had erased it. Panic spread across every communication network. Military commanders demanded answers. Scientists searched desperately for an explanation. There was none. The enemy had crossed billions of light-years only to unleash a weapon beyond comprehension. Fleet Admiral Evelyn Ward looked at the tactical display without surprise. She had seen this before. "All fleets," she ordered calmly, "execute Phase 1. Across the galaxy, more than 100,000 human warships came alive. Blue reactor cores blazed brighter than stars. Massive carriers launched millions of autonomous fighters. Planetary defense platforms unfolded from hidden positions around human colonies. Ancient shipyards, silent for centuries, activated one final production cycle. Every battleship humanity had built in secret was now heading toward the galactic frontier. Supreme Marshal Varek opened a secure channel. His voice no longer carried arrogance. "Admiral Ward, if what you've told us is true..." He hesitated. "Then the Dominion cannot survive this alone." Ward answered immediately. "Neither can humanity." She looked directly into the camera. "For 2 centuries, your empire believed fear created strength. It doesn't. Unity does." For a moment, no one spoke. Then something unprecedented happened. The Dominion lowered its weapons. One by one, fleets from independent civilizations followed. Ancient rivals aligned their formations beside human dreadnoughts. Species that had hated each other for generations now stood shoulder to shoulder. Not because they trusted one another, because extinction left no room for pride. At the edge of the galaxy, the black rifts multiplied. Hundreds became thousands. The void-born armada advanced like an endless storm, swallowing the light of distant stars. Human command AI calculated the odds. Probability of victory, 3.8%. The bridge fell silent. A young officer looked toward Admiral Ward. "Should we tell the fleet?" Ward smiled faintly. "No." He looked confused. "Why?" "Because numbers don't decide history. People do." She opened a galaxy-wide channel. Every soldier, every pilot, every civilian heard her voice. 217 years ago, humanity vanished so that civilization could have a future. Today, that future has arrived. We are not here because we hate our enemies. We are here because someone must stand between the innocent and the darkness. Across countless bridges, crews rose to their feet. No cheers. No fear. Only determination. Ward gave her final command. "All fleets, advance." The combined armada surged forward. Millions of engines ignited simultaneously, illuminating the darkness between galaxies. For the first time in history, humanity did not fight for Earth alone. It fought for every civilization that had once believed humanity was extinct. As the two greatest fleets ever assembled raced toward one another, the stars themselves seemed to tremble. History would remember that day not as the return of humanity, but as the day an entire galaxy discovered what the human spirit truly meant. Because humanity had never disappeared,